Welcome back, Steelers Nation. This is SteelersFix Daily, and you can feel the temperature rising in Pittsburgh this week because the Cleveland Browns are coming to town. The air's colder, the city's louder, and the black and gold flags are out in full force along the three rivers. You know the deal. Steelers versus Browns isn't just another game on the calendar. It's the kind of old-school AFC North slugfest that makes football in October feel like a heavyweight bout. You can smell it in the air outside Acrisure Stadium, that mix of diesel from tailgates, beer, and pure anticipation. Every conversation in every shop ends the same way. We better hit somebody. And that, my friends, is exactly what Pittsburgh plans to do. Before we get into the circus that's unfolding in Cleveland, and we'll get there soon enough, let's start at home. Let's talk about the two minds quietly shaping the identity of this Steelers team. Offensive coordinator Arthur Smith and defensive coordinator Teryl Austin. They're not flashy guys. They don't give viral quotes. But week by week, their fingerprints are showing up all over this roster. Smith is crafting an offense that finally feels like Pittsburgh football again, and Austin's molding a defense that's mean, fast, and disciplined. You can hear it in their voices when they talk ball. This is the section of the show where we slow down, look behind the curtain, and figure out exactly what kind of monster the Steelers are becoming. Arthur Smith said something this week that just made every Steelers fan nod their head. He called his players last-mile delivery guys. Think about that for a second. He's not talking about long bombs or fancy trick plays. He's talking about finishing, about that final stretch of effort when a play should be over, but somebody decides it's not. That's Jaylen Warren fighting through two tacklers for an extra yard. That's Calvin Austin turning a bubble screen into a first down. That's Roman Wilson lowering a shoulder instead of stepping out of bounds. The last mile, that's where toughness lives, and that's what defines this city. Smith gets it. He's building an offense around effort and precision, not hope and luck. You can feel the difference already. For the first time in a long time, the Steelers' offense isn't guessing its way through games. Every drive has structure. Every play seems to set up the next one. Smith talks about sequencing, and you can see it on tape: run, play action, motion, quick hit, then back to the run. It's rhythm football, the kind Pittsburgh used to own back in the Cowher and early Tomlin years. It's not about stats, it's about control. That's what wins games in November when the wind starts swirling off the river. Smith smiled when reporters asked him about that jumbo package last week. Darnell Washington and Spencer Anderson lined up together on the edge. He said, "We wouldn't do it if we didn't think it gave us an advantage. Spence is a hell of an athlete." And then came the line that made the rounds online. It looked like Alexander the Great riding in on elephants. And honestly, he wasn't wrong. That formation was 1,000 pounds of controlled chaos. Broderick Jones, Troy Fautanu, Washington, Anderson, all firing downhill like a moving wall. By the fourth quarter, Minnesota's linebackers were gassed. That's the kind of attrition football the Steelers have been missing. It's not about the highlight, it's about the cumulative punishment. Jaylen Warren was the exclamation point on that style. Arthur Smith said defenders just bounce off him, and you can see it in slow motion. That low center of gravity, the refusal to quit on a run, the second burst after contact. Every carry from him sends a message. You can feel it on the sideline, you can feel it in the stands. That kind of effort infects the whole roster. Suddenly the receivers block harder, the linemen strain longer, and even Rodgers starts grinning behind his face mask. That's how culture gets built. One violent 5-yard gain at a time. And now Smith's talking about pony sets. 2 running backs on the field together. Warren and Kenneth Gainwell. Just imagine the looks you can give a defense with that. Motion one out wide, fake jet sweep, leak the other into the flat. You force linebackers to declare coverage, you make safeties hesitate, and that half second of hesitation is all Rodgers needs to pick you apart. Smith's not reinventing football. He's just using modern wrinkles to bring back something Pittsburgh forgot. Balance. The ability to beat you with brains and brawn at the same time. Smith joked about Rodgers being opinionated. Shockingly, he's got an opinion on it. But that's what you want from a Hall of Famer. Rodgers sees the field like a chessboard, and Smith's letting him move pieces. They're in sync now. Both detail freaks, both control junkies. When a coordinator and quarterback start finishing each other's sentences, the offense goes from functional to dangerous. You can already see it. Rodgers checking protections, Smith trusting him to change a call, receivers adjusting routes mid-play. That's veteran synergy at work. Smith said they're not just launching it Uncle Rico style, and that's the perfect quote for where this offense is. Every deep shot is deliberate. Rodgers reads coverage, manipulates safeties, and only pulls the trigger when the math says yes. Defenses know it too. Rodgers said they've been seeing a ton of cover too, and that's fine. You play us soft, we'll bleed you underneath. Metcalf on a dig, Freiermuth on a seam, Wilson catching crossers. 6 here, 8 there, another first down. Eventually that safety cheats up, and that's when Rodgers drops the hammer over the top. That's professional patience. That's what separates experience from panic. This offense finally looks sustainable. You can tell they're built for the long game, not the box score. Smith's leaning into physicality and timing. Short passes that feel like runs that feel like statements. When he says he wants a balanced offense, that's not lip service, it's identity. That's what the Steelers have lacked since the old Ben Bell Brown era, a sense of self. Now it's back, and you can see the confidence growing by the week. Players trust the plan because the plan makes sense. Flip it to the other side of the ball now, Teryl Austin's defense. The man's a technician. He doesn't raise his voice, doesn't throw cliches, he just lays out the truth. Asked about Jalen Ramsey's leg injury, he said, "He does so many things for us. We'll have to divvy that up." Simple as that. No panic, no drama. That's how a real Steelers coach talks. The message between the lines is clear. The standard is the standard. Whoever steps in, we expect the same level. That's why this defense stays steady even when half the starters are banged up. Austin talked about depth like it's his secret weapon. James Pierre, Brandon Echols, and don't be shocked if Beanie Bishop Jr. gets called up from the practice squad, all ready to rotate if needed. You can feel the pride he takes in development. He's not out here begging for trades, he's teaching. He said, "We'll work it out to see who does what best." That's code for, we know what we've got. That confidence bleeds into the locker room. Every guy in that room knows his number could be called, and nobody blinks. That's the beauty of a culture built over time instead of hype. And then he smiled when someone asked about Nick Herbig. He's earned the right to be on the field. That's all you need to know. You turn on the tape and you see it. Herbig bending the edge like a slingshot, disrupting plays he has no business getting to. He's not the biggest, but his effort is nuclear. Plays like that change the pulse of a game. You can feel it when he checks in. The crowd leans forward, the tackles start jittering. Add him to a mix that already includes TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith, and suddenly you've got a rotation that never lets up. Austin didn't stop there. He gave props to Keanu Benton and rookie Derek Harmon for the way they've come along. Said Benton always had the pass rush ability, now he's finishing. That's the kind of subtle coaching point that turns potential into production. You watch Benton these last 2 weeks, and he's not just occupying blockers anymore, he's beating them. That quick arm swim, that power through the guard's inside shoulder, that's the difference between pressure and a sack. And Harmon? Austin said he's got all the traits you'd want in a defensive lineman. That's high praise from a man who's coached Pro Bowlers. You can feel it building, the next wave of Steelers trench monsters forming in real time. That's how Pittsburgh's always done it. They don't rebuild, they reload. One generation of dogs teaches the next. You lose a Hayward eventually, you've got a Benton or Harmon waiting in the wings. Same DNA, new jersey number, it's like clockwork. That continuity is what's kept this franchise relevant while half the league keeps hitting reset every 3 years. It's patience mixed with pride. Austin gets that. He's not chasing schemes, he's building habits. He also had a line about Cleveland's rookie back, Quinshon Judkins, that felt like it came straight out of a Tomlin team meeting. "You better put your big boy pads on," he said. "That's not trash talk. That's a declaration. It means they respect you enough to hit you full speed. Judkins runs hard, no doubt, but this is the wrong defense to test if you're looking for space. Pittsburgh thrives on closing windows, on reminding rookies that NFL holes don't stay open for long. Judkins might get one early pop, but after that first real collision with TJ Watt or Patrick Queen, he's going to realize what AFC North football feels like. And speaking of Watt, every single week he gives you something special. You almost get numb to it, and that's the crazy part. Sack here, strip there, a tipped pass that turns into an interception. You just expect it now. The man is a machine, but what people miss is how much his presence frees everyone else. Offenses slide protections, backs chip him, tight ends stay in, and suddenly Benton's got a one-on-one or Herbig's coming clean off the edge. Watt changes geometry. He doesn't just make plays, he bends entire offensive structures. That's Hall of Fame stuff. And then there's Joey Porter Jr., the heartbeat of swagger in the secondary is back. Austin said he might need a series or two to find his rhythm after that hamstring, but once he locks in, forget it. He's everything Steelers fans hoped he'd be: physical, loud, fearless. You can't teach that. It's genetic. Every time he lines up, you see flashes of his dad jawing with opposing receivers back in the day. That fire didn't skip a generation. And in this matchup, against a young Cleveland quarterback who's going to test every boundary throw he can, Porter's licking his chops. Expect at least one near pick, maybe a real one if Dylan Gabriel floats something late outside the numbers. What's fascinating about Austin's scheme right now is the blend of eras. He's running a modern playbook with old-school mentality. You'll see the disguise, safety rotation late, linebackers mugging the line, but the backbone is still gap control and tackling fundamentals. Smart aggression. That's the term that keeps coming to mind. Attack without chaos, confuse without losing discipline. It's how you keep the splash plays coming, without the busts that killed defenses a decade ago. And when you pair that structure with the kind of leaders Pittsburgh has, you get something sustainable. Cam Hayward may be aging, but his voice still echoes through the room. You watch film and see him mentoring Harmon mid-series, pointing at alignments between snaps. That's legacy coaching from inside the huddle. It's the same thing the old guard used to do. Aaron Smith teaching Ziggy Hood, Brett Keisel showing Tuitt how to set an edge. The names change, but the lineage stays. That's what Austin and Tomlin have preserved. The passing of the torch. Now here's the beautiful part. While the defense is setting that tone, Arthur Smith's offense is matching it punch for punch. For years, this team's identity was split. Great defense, inconsistent offense. You'd win games 20-17 and hope for a turnover. But now, you can feel both sides feeding each other. When the defense forces a 3-and-out, Rodgers marches down and cashes it in. When the offense chews clock, the defense comes out fresh and ferocious. That's synergy. That's team football. It's what Tomlin preaches every week, but this year it's starting to look real. Arthur Smith keeps hammering the same message. Physical precision. It's not just about hitting hard, it's about doing it with purpose. You see it in how the line fires off. Low pads, quick hands, finish through the whistle. You see it in how Rodgers sets protections pre-snap. And you definitely see it in how Jaylen Warren runs. There's no wasted motion, no hero ball. Just execution. That's what great teams look like in October. They stop experimenting and start perfecting. You think back to those Cowher teams, how they'd wear you down over 60 minutes. Same formula here. Smith isn't trying to score 40. He's trying to make you quit. 10-play drives that feel like 15 because every block hurts. By the fourth quarter, defenders start hesitating. That half second is where big plays live. Rodgers knows it. Smith knows it. It's beautiful in its cruelty. Even Rodgers has commented on how much he enjoys this version of football. He said earlier in the week that playing behind this line and with these backs feels like old school ball done smart. That's exactly it. It's the grind reimagined, the balance of analytics and attitude. You've got data guiding tendencies, but heart dictating the tone. And that's pure Pittsburgh. When you think about where this team was a year ago, struggling to run the ball, red zone frustrations, short drives leaving the defense gassed, and then you look at them now, it's night and day. The play action actually means something again. The bootlegs have teeth because linebackers bite on the run. The tight ends are part of the offense, not just decoys. It's all connected. That's what Arthur Smith has rebuilt piece by piece. It's a system that rewards patience and punishes hesitation. And that's why this matchup with Cleveland feels like the perfect measuring stick. Because the Browns still think defense first. They want to slug it out, shorten the game, hope their rookie quarterback survives. That used to be Pittsburgh's life, but not anymore. Now the Steelers dictate pace. They can grind you or gut you. That's evolution, and it's the reason you're starting to hear analysts whisper the word contender again. Teryl Austin's side of the ball loves that. When your offense can control tempo, your defense becomes merciless. They can rotate fresh, they can blitz more selectively, they can hunt. That's why Watt and Highsmith still have juice in the fourth quarter. They're not playing 80-snap games anymore. They're feasting on 60-snap workloads with purpose. That's the blueprint every franchise wants, but only a few actually build. You know what this defense reminds me of? The 2008 unit, the one that suffocated teams into mistakes. Back then it was Polamalu freelancing, Harrison destroying tackles, and everyone else doing their job behind them. This version's got the same bones. Watt is the chaos engine, Ramsey, when healthy, is the versatile chess piece, and Queen has become that sideline-to-sideline eraser we haven't had since Ryan Shazier. The names are new, but the vibe is familiar. Calculated violence. Austin knows how to harness that. He doesn't blitz for the sake of it. He blitzes for effect. Every pressure has a plan behind it. He'll send Herbig on a stunt with Benton, bait the guard, and then have Queen shoot the backside gap untouched. It's art disguised as aggression. You watch it unfold and realize how much film work goes into every snap. That's coaching. That's hours of detail nobody sees. And that's why quarterbacks hate playing Pittsburgh. You never know where the hit's coming from. You just know it's coming. What ties both coordinators together is how seamlessly they fit the Tomlin philosophy. No excuses, no fear, just find a way to win today. Smith and Austin are mirror images in different languages. One speaks offense, one defense, but both value toughness, efficiency, and trust. That's why this team feels cohesive again. You can sense it during warm-ups, during sideline interactions. It's one heartbeat. That's the stuff that wins playoff games when talent alone isn't enough. The more you listen to players talk this week, the more you can hear how much faith they've got in these coordinators. That kind of trust doesn't happen overnight. It comes from seeing plans work. You start stacking those successful drives, those third down stops, and suddenly everyone's buying in. Football's a belief business. Belief in your coach, in your teammate, in the idea that if you do your job, it'll matter. And right now, this locker room believes. You can feel it when they break the huddle. You can see it in the way guys celebrate each other instead of themselves. That's the shift we've been waiting for. When Arthur Smith first got here, a lot of fans didn't know what to expect. They remembered the headlines from Tennessee, the arguments about run-heavy schemes, the jokes about tight ends playing fullback. But in Pittsburgh, that mindset fits. This city respects work. Smith preaches work. He's not about flash, he's about finish. He's turning that offensive line into an identity again. Broderick Jones said earlier in the week that practices feel like controlled street fights, and you can tell he means it as a compliment. These guys are finally practicing the way they play. Hard, physical, competitive. That's why the game plan works on Sundays. Aaron Rodgers has been the perfect partner for Smith because he brings calm to the chaos. It's funny, you'd think a veteran like Rodgers would resist change, but he's embraced this structure. He loves the discipline of it. He talked this week about how Smith's system forces everyone to be accountable, and that's a telling quote. Rodgers has played in plenty of high-powered systems, but what he values now is trust. He wants to know that if he puts the ball where it's supposed to be, the receiver will be there. That's what Smith has built. Trust through repetition, and that's what turns potential into production. What's making this offense special isn't just play design, it's adaptability. Smith can go heavy with 2 tight ends one series, then empty the backfield the next. He's using motion to identify coverage, tempo to control substitutions, and play action to make linebackers freeze. It's all old concepts made new again because of timing and execution. Rodgers gets the ball out fast, receivers understand leverage, linemen finish blocks. It's not complicated football, it's precise football. That's how you beat good defenses. You don't trick them, you wear them down with clean execution. And that's exactly the style that frustrates Cleveland. Their defense is built around splash, strip sacks, chaos, turnovers. They live on disruption, but when you play a team that doesn't panic, that stays on schedule, you take their teeth away. That's what Smith wants to do Sunday. Get 4 yards on first down, stay out of long third downs, let Rodgers control tempo. You can almost hear it coming. Long drives, crowd roaring, and Myles Garrett getting frustrated because the ball's out before he can get there. That's how you neutralize a superstar, not by avoiding him, but by making him irrelevant. The defense feeds off that rhythm. When Austin's group watches the offense grind out a 10-play drive, they come out fresh and nasty. They're salivating to hit somebody, and that's when you get the avalanche. 1 3 and out becomes 2, a field goal turns into a turnover, and suddenly it's 17-3 before you've even realized what happened. That's complimentary football, and Pittsburgh is finally playing it again. You can feel the veterans enjoying this too. Guys like Cam Hayward, Pat Freiermuth, even Rodgers. They've seen what dysfunctional football looks like. They've lived through weeks where one side plays lights out and the other sputters. Now, for the first time in years, everything feels synchronized. And that's why you keep hearing the word standard come up. It's not just a slogan, it's a reminder that this organization doesn't accept average. Every position group has its own version of that mantra. For the D-line, it's effort. For the linebackers, it's speed. For the secondary, it's communication. Add it all up, and you've got what Mike Tomlin calls the Pittsburgh standard. That standard isn't built on stats or hype. It's built on moments. Those third and short stops, those fourth quarter drives where you lean on an opponent until they crack. It's built on details like backside pursuit and extra effort blocks. Those things don't show up in fantasy leagues, but they win championships. And that's what makes this 2025 group so intriguing. They've got the stars, but they've also got the grinders. You need both. You need your Aaron Rodgers, but you also need your Kenneth Gainwell. You need your Watt, but you also need your Nick Herbig. The mix feels right again. Tomlin always says, don't seek comfort. And you can see that mindset in how this staff operates. They're not patting themselves on the back after a win. They're dissecting mistakes, finding edges. Teryl Austin's defense is already good, but he's talking about missed tackles like they cost a game. Arthur Smith's offense is scoring more efficiently, but he's griping about red zone execution. That constant hunger, that's how great teams stay sharp. That's what separates this franchise from all the others chasing relevance. The bond between offense and defense isn't just talk either. You watch practice footage and they're chirping at each other. Rodgers yelling at Porter after a rep, Watt clapping back, everyone competing. But it's healthy. It's iron sharpening iron, not dysfunction. When the team's culture is right, that banter makes both sides better. And it shows up on Sunday when the lights are bright. One thing that stands out with Teryl Austin's guys is discipline under pressure. There's a calm about them even when things break down. That's coaching. When blitzes don't get home, they rally and tackle. When the offense turns it over, they bow up instead of folding. It's pride mixed with preparation. Every Steelers fan knows that feeling. That trust that no matter how ugly it looks, the defense is going to bail you out. That trust is back. You can breathe again when the defense takes the field. What's really cool is watching young players grow up in that environment. You can see Benton learning to take control of double teams the way Hayward used to. You can see Herbig reading formations faster, not just relying on burst. You can even see Brandon Echols finding his voice in the secondary. Those little evolutions are what turn a good unit into a great one. And Austin's patience allows that growth to happen naturally. He doesn't rush development, he refines it. That's rare in today's NFL, where everyone wants instant results. Arthur Smith and Teryl Austin probably couldn't be more different personality-wise, but their football philosophies are cousins. Smith's mantra is physical precision. Austin's is disciplined chaos. One builds pressure, the other absorbs it. It's yin and yang, offense and defense, feeding off each other's tempo. And when both sides click like they have the last 2 games, you get that unmistakable Pittsburgh rhythm, the kind where the stadium crowd senses it before the scoreboard even changes. There's something about Steelers-Browns week that just hits different. It's not the same polished rivalry you get with Baltimore, where the respect runs deep. This one's raw. It's personal. Pittsburgh's been the big brother for decades, and Cleveland keeps trying to throw punches from the porch. Every year they come in talking. Every year they promise this is the time they'll flip the script. And every year the Steelers remind them that the North still runs through Pittsburgh. You can feel that tension brewing again. Acrisure is going to be loud, cold, and nasty, the way football is supposed to feel in October. What's wild is that this Browns team isn't short on talent. They've got Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, and some hungry young players. But this week they're limping. Garrett's nursing that leg, Ward's questionable, and their locker room has been chaos since the Joe Flacco trade. Rookie quarterback Dillon Gabriel has the weight of a franchise on his shoulders, and now he's walking into a stadium filled with ghosts. You can see the contrast between these teams just by watching practice clips. Pittsburgh looks sharp and unified. Cleveland looks tense and unsure. That's not by accident. That's the difference between a team with structure and one still searching for it. If you followed the Browns this season, you know the story. Constant quarterback drama, coaching uncertainty, and a defense that's been asked to carry too much of the load. Head coach Kevin Stefanski's doing everything he can to stabilize that locker room, but this week he's got to do it without clarity at quarterback. He wouldn't even name his backup on Wednesday. You've got Bailey Zappi possibly getting elevated from the practice squad, Shadir Sanders waiting in the wings, and a rookie starter who just got promoted after Flacco's unexpected trade. That's not preparation, that's triage. Meanwhile, Tomlin's walking into the same building with Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Queen, and TJ Watt. Experience versus uncertainty. Advantage, Pittsburgh. Here's what's going to decide this game, the trenches. Plain and simple. If the Steelers' front controls the line of scrimmage, it's over. Cleveland's offensive line has been shaky, and their center Ethan Pocic is questionable with a head injury. That means interior pressure could be a nightmare for a rookie quarterback. Keanu Benton and Derek Harmon are going to eat if those guards can't handle stunts. And if you give Teryl Austin the chance to send disguised pressure on 3rd and long, he's going to dial up something wicked. Gabriel's PFF numbers show he actually performs better under pressure than when clean, but that's against blitzes from standard looks. Austin's pressure isn't standard. It's chaos wrapped in order, disguised coverage that collapses pockets faster than the quarterback can process it. Cleveland's only real hope is to establish the run early with Judkins, but that plays straight into Pittsburgh's hands. Patrick Queen and Peyton Wilson live for this kind of game. They're going to stack and shed all afternoon, forcing 3rd and longs. And the moment that happens, the avalanche begins. You'll see Watt slide inside, Herbig off the edge, Elliott or Thornhill coming downhill to close windows. It's going to be a long day for a rookie quarterback who hasn't seen this kind of disguised pressure in college, let alone the NFL. Arthur Smith's offense, on the other hand, will pick its spots. He's not going to chase explosives early. Expect a heavy dose of Warren and Gainwell on early downs. He'll use that pony set to force Cleveland's linebackers to declare their gaps. Then you'll see Rodgers operate like a surgeon, quick outs to Wilson, intermediate crossers to Metcalf, and some misdirection screens to Freiermuth. Nothing fancy, just efficient, deliberate body blows. Smith knows if he can keep the offense in second and manageable situations, the Browns' defense will wear down. Myles Garrett can't rush if he's guessing run every play. By the second quarter, I expect Rodgers to start picking on Cleveland's corners. If Denzel Ward sits, it's open season on whoever lines up opposite. Roman Wilson has been quietly improving at practice each week. Crisp routes, strong hands, better chemistry with Rodgers. Don't be shocked if he's the one who gets loose on a double move. And when that happens, you can already picture it. Rodgers smirking under his helmet, spinning the ball in his hand as he walks off after a touchdown. That's the veteran edge you just can't fake. Cleveland's got youth and energy, but they don't have that level of composure. When things get tight, Rodgers will stay cool. Dillon Gabriel will feel the walls closing in. The emotional edge also belongs to Pittsburgh. This team remembers how last season ended. The missed opportunities, the doubts about whether the Rodgers experiment would work, the early critics calling it a gimmick. Now they're 3-1, balanced, and playing with purpose. There's something almost defiant in their body language. Every snap feels like a message. We're still here, and the standard hasn't changed. You can sense it from veterans like Hayward and Watt, and you can see it in the young guys like Benton and Wilson, who are starting to understand what that black and gold standard really means. This isn't rebuilding, it's reloading with intent. Special teams might also swing a moment or two. Chris Boswell's been automatic, and in a low-scoring physical game, that matters. Corliss Waitman's punting has quietly been elite, flipping field position and forcing long drives. Those hidden yards add up, especially against a rookie quarterback who hasn't been tested on the road. Field position and patience, that's the hidden formula to beat Cleveland. Don't give them short fields, make them go 80 every time, and sooner or later, the mistake comes. A tipped ball, a late throw, a forced check down on fourth down, that's how you grind a team into dust. By the time the fourth quarter rolls around, this game is going to look exactly how Mike Tomlin wants it to look. Dirty, physical, and tilted toward discipline. That's when the details start separating teams. Cleveland's penalties creep up, missed assignments multiply, and Pittsburgh just keeps methodically stacking plays. Smith's offense might only have 1 or 2 explosive passes, but they'll have owned the clock. Rodgers won't need to throw for 300 yards. 210 with precision and 0 turnovers will do just fine. Meanwhile, Watt and Highsmith will have spent the night making Gabriel see ghosts. You can almost script it. One late turnover flips field position, Boswell drills a 48-yarder, and the game feels sealed. So here it is. The prediction, the gut call, the one we'll remember come Monday morning. Steelers 24, Browns 13. That's right. It's not a blowout, but it's authoritative. Rodgers throws 2 touchdowns, one to Metcalf, one to Freiermuth, and Jaylen Warren pounds in a score from the red zone. Boswell adds a late field goal for the dagger. Cleveland gets 1 touchdown off a busted play early, but after that, the defense locks in. Watt finishes with a sack and a forced fumble. Queen racks up double-digit tackles, and Benton gets his first full sack at home. The offense controls time of possession, the defense dictates everything else, and the crowd walks out of Acrisure singing "Here We Go" with that familiar swagger back in their step. What this game will really show, though, is how far this team has come in such a short time. They're no longer chasing an identity, they're living it. They've got the toughness of old mixed with the brains of new. They're physical, they're prepared, and they've got a quarterback who knows exactly how to lead in these kinds of moments. It's not about revenge, it's not about headlines. It's about the standard. And right now, that standard looks alive and well in Pittsburgh. So fire up the terrible towels, Steelers Nation. The lights are bright, the rivalry's real, and the team looks ready. Browns week always brings the noise, but this year, the difference feels deeper. The Steelers aren't just trying to win, they're trying to send a message to the entire conference. They're built for the long haul, for January football, for those cold weather slugfests that separate contenders from pretenders. And Sunday at Acrisure, they'll prove it again. Steelers 24, Browns 13, here we go.